Shut up and sit down.
Welcome back to another RamDragon's Art Studio. Brought to you live without a studio audience. Today is October 25th. Our prompt today is tasty. Let's see. What is tasty? What does tasty do? I'm thinking gluttony, something stuffing into a monster's mouth and like a monstrous version of Pac-Man. Oh, there we go. More mouth. And we want to get teeth in there because teeth are disturbing for some reason. I don't want to have even teeth because this is going to be kind of a weird mouth to begin with. And this here is a weird molar that's kind of got not a fully formed molar. I can't remember the real word for it. But starting with this incisor, you get this lump off the back, and then that comes a pseudo, not quite a ledge. And then you get a real molar back here. And a row of them. Probably too many molars, but I want that to go back a little ways. Some artists use mirrors. I'm actually going to put a huge space here. Yeah, that's bizarre and strange. Give me some more gum. Some artists use mirrors to figure out what things look like, how they're going to draw facial expressions and stuff. Me, I'm counting with the tip of my tongue. Isn't that weird? So this one is a little bit pointier before it goes flat. And then 1, 1, 2, 3, and I have a wisdom tooth taken out, so I guess that is a normal amount of teeth. Let's start on some of our top ones. Some weird uneven spaces. This will make it look just a bit stranger. And then the flat tops of these molars. Excuse me. And opening up your mouth that wide pulls your lips in real close. So let's bring this weird lip shape actually up more like this, right up on top of the gum line here. Ooh, gum line. I get to draw a gum line just a little bit. There we go. Weird creepy chin. This would be a bizarre Pac-Man kind of. I don't even know what. I'm just kind of drawing randomly right now. Get a weird floppy tongue in here. Go to the back of the mouth there. Weird floppy tongue covers a lot of weirdness going on back there. So I won't have to worry about that. Okay. That's weird. Gives kind of a fish-like lip mouth thing. I think I want to keep it just for the oddity of it. And then let's go with Fat Pac-Man. Call him 12 Pac-Man. Built a lot like me, so instead of a six-pack, he gets a keg. He's got to be eating something. Let's go with Power Pellets. He's probably got Power Pellet in his mouth already. He's kind of chewing it as he goes on the run. He's got horrible manners. Let's go with the 0.5. And this poor thing's running out. It was old before I started doing these. But I think it's actually starting to run out for real now. And yeah, it was a straight line, but I'm going to work it in and make it work. Power Pellet. going to start on the back here just because I did not do any warm-ups or anything this morning, so I'm kind of working in areas that I can afford to mess up. I really shouldn't have started with that power pellet. That was my fault. Because this pen is wearing out, I can see the line is getting more inconsistent. I don't know how much that shows up on camera, but it's starting to break up more and more as I draw lines. So I have to draw these lines a little bit slower. Okay, a lot slower than I would normally be comfortable with. Because when you pull the line slowly, you're more likely to shake and shift. See, that line is, yeah, it shows up great on camera, so it was perfect. I don't know what you're talking about. Ooh, where did I put my drink? Let's try to pull this one up and over. This is probably going to be one of the shorter drawings that I do. I'm only 20 minutes in today. But I have to find some way to tie this all together and I've got weird songs going through my head again this morning. All I can do to not sing along. Not that anybody would want to hear that, but it's an option. Just saying. used to do IT for dentists' offices, and a lot of the pediatric dentists that we served had these really super weird, creepy dolls that were, frogs and bears, and uh, one of them was a little girl, but for the most part they were all animals or monsters or whatever. But they had these fake plastic teeth in their mouth that were uh, human teeth. They were all, I mean, I'm an adult man, and those things were the stuff of nightmares. Just, I don't know how a child would go to a dentist and interact with one of those dolls and not have nightmares forever. What kind of a weird monster comes up with that type of a doll in the first place? I understand it's a teaching tool. It helps the dentist illustrate to the children how to brush their teethies. Holy cow. Just, like I said, nightmare fuel. If I were a little kid, I'd never want to touch a toothbrush after seeing one of those things. Alright. Now, gotta lay in some shadows. This is interesting enough. Actually, let me start by getting rid of some of these pencil marks. I'm not going to get rid of all of them because some of them don't even show up on camera. But the darker ones, the darker areas that are going to confuse me while I'm shading, I'm definitely going to get rid of. Like that. And that should be good. One of the ways I can always pick out a CG character in a movie is, even still, the animators, the artists, spend so much time on mouth details that they want to light up the inside of the mouth so that people can see all the cool little details they put in there. And that unnatural mouth lighting, it's like a beacon that says, fake character right here. I find it immensely annoying. Mostly because I don't like effects that take me out of the moment, take me out of the movie and start noticing the effects. which is weird because I do like watching movies for the effects, kind of dissecting how different shots were done. And I'm just kind of going into my darkest shadow areas right now. And I'll add some cross-hatching in just a moment. Maybe. No, I'll do that all in cross-hatching. Noticing some lines still showing up on camera here that are probably interfering with the viewer's ability to follow along. This kind of thing, I do have to point out, this is bad habit. Scrubbing the image with the pencil and then brushing it with your finger, not good. Although, for younger artists out there who are learning to draw, excuse me, most of the time, going to be learning on like printer paper or some other low quality paper, and doing this will lift up your ink as well as the pencil marks, which is why when you're first learning to draw, kind of important to get a real drawing pad, a good high quality one. And considering how quickly these pads get filled up, I mean, a prolific artist might fill one of these up, you know, in a month. And a high quality pad like this one is a couple bucks. Don't have the tag on it still, but I think this one was like $8. And I'm not a highly prolific artist. I don't draw nearly as much as I should, and so it takes me quite a long time to fill one of these up. So I don't feel bad spending, you know, $8 or sometimes $12 on a drawing pad, because it's going to last me a while. You got to think of the value over time. And the value over time for an art pad is pretty good. Putting these really tightly together, because I still want to show that up, but I want it to be darker than everything else. And a good quality art pad will really hold on to the ink, so you can scrub your art with the eraser like I'm doing without lifting up the ink. And the other is using a good quality art pencil. Now I'm using these disposable Bic pencils because I really like the lead that comes in them. And I believe it's equivalent to HB hardness. but they are made for school, so they are technically a number 2 pencil. So they fit with school requirements. And they become a very good all-purpose pencil if you're just learning art, just getting into it, and need a pencil that you can use for other things also, you know, and art. Those are definitely my favorite. And I do like the graphic pencils. Those are good for what they are. They give me a lot of control and a larger area. If I'm doing large areas of shading, these are great. More than mechanical pencils, which have a small lead and make shading large areas difficult. But usually I'm only indicating that an area is shaded before I ink. There we go. I'm just checking it out on my camera to see how it's showing up. It's the equivalent of stepping back a little ways. You always want to do that occasionally, especially when you're hunched over your camera so much, your head shadow shows up. You do want to step back on occasion and get a little bit of distance from your art. And looking over my shoulder at the camera is just a handy way for me to do it. You'll see other artists frequently lean back in their chairs. That's what they're doing. They're getting a little bit of distance. They're looking at it as a whole image rather than as the small pieces or assemblies that they were working on. Okay, now I'm going to, I've got my largest shaded area done. I'm going to go in and create some more gradient lines. So I do want a shadow there, a shadow there. Yeah. Create a thinner shadow along here. And this is going to create a lot of areas of overlapping shadow. And I know typically I do one style of cross-hatching on the images that I've been drawing. But in this case, several different styles and textures are definitely going to be required. But where the lips and the gums are, the shadows are overlapping, this is going to be a pretty similar texture. It's a kind of a moist surface. And then this is going to be darker towards the back and lighter towards the front. So I'll need more cross-hatching back here. And the same down here, more cross-hatching at the bottom. See, here's a good place to switch over to my 2B and kind of swoop in a shadow, because outlining these shadows is going to be a little more difficult. I'm thinking of multiple shapes at a time, and just blocking in rather than outlining is going to be much easier. Those. All right. I think I accidentally drew a candy cane. Let's cover that up. Ugh, this is going to be a hard shape to do without moving the pad. See, I'm converging my lines. I don't want to do that. What I'd like to do eventually is hook up a playlist to my brain, so you all can hear the same soundtrack I'm listening to. There's an American research scientist whose name escapes my mind right now that was researching human-machine interfaces and decided to have one of his patented devices implanted in his body. And he only had it implanted in his forearm, but he had it implanted on the median nerve. And he was able to connect it up via, it was a simple circuit. I mean, breadboard kind of something you can build out of Radio Shack. But obviously out of materials that are safe for implantation. But had it implanted in his forearm on his median nerve. And it had a Bluetooth connection, I believe. So he was able to hook up various devices to it, and he had successfully given himself sonar as a new sense. I mean, just completely bizarre when you think about it, but he would wear a headband that had simple sonar sensors, the ones that you actually could just get out of any old Radio Shack. And he would wear that headband around his head and wirelessly connect it up to his implanted chip. And in very short order, his brain had reorganized in such a way that it was able to interpret that input, and he could essentially see in the dark. Not literally see in the dark, he was literally sonaring in the dark, but he gained a proprioceptive input that the human brain wasn't built for, but adapted to very easily. And I always find that kind of, frankly, comic book mad scientist innovation to be admirable. I mean, not to belittle the guy's science or his ambition, but how many comic book villains started out with experimenting on themselves? Compared to real-world scientists who frequently die while experimenting on themselves, which is why most scientists don't. Let's see, I've got a back of a tooth here. I've got these teeths up here. last I heard about that scientist, again, his name escapes my mind, but I'm sure he can be looked up pretty easily. He had designed a chip based off of his more rudimentary one that he had implanted in his arm, but his new chip was designed to be implanted in his brain. And he had medical students at his university all set to do the implantation for him when the university suddenly put the kibosh on it because it wasn't ethical to do what amounted to a cosmetic surgery, an elective surgery on anyone's brain, especially for, I mean, neuroscientists still, but student neuroscientists, neurosurgeons. And even though the implantation would have been minimally invasive, I mean, compared to what else can be going on in brain surgeries, they, last I heard, he was looking for a doctor to do the implant, but not having any luck. I mean, when it comes down to it, the Hippocratic Oath is do no harm, right? And if a doctor does a questionable surgery on somebody's brain, how can they have claimed to attempt to do no harm? This is looking weirder and weirder to me. think I'm coming up on a quitting point on this one. Finally, I was having trouble finding a place where I would like to call it quits, but I think once I finish all of these gross body folds, I'm going to do exactly that. Yeah, these are just absolutely weird. And I completely messed that one up, but oh well. And just a couple of areas where I wanted to go in with brushy brush here. And separate detail lines from crosshatch lines. I think this particularly is an area where we really needed to separate that detail line. Maybe a little more shadow back here than I was using. And all along here. Well, monkeys. And like I said, I'm just pulling out some of these detail lines to separate, create a separation between details that were blending together a little too much. And there we go. I think we're ready to call that a tasty, tasty completion. I'm getting ahead of myself again. I want to put a stronger shadow here. Yeah. Just kinda like that. Oh, much better. Much, much better. And we'll put in our final detail here. There we go. A tasty, tasty treat. Thank you for joining me on October 25th for Inktober for this drawing of Tasty. I hope to see you again tomorrow. Well, no, not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. And I'm not doing a drawing tomorrow, so I hope to see you next time. Bye.